to run this Anaconda Navigator, you don't require any internet. Okay, so this is a software which you have to install, and it will be on your local machine only. So here you can use PyCharm. See, PyCharm is for only Python programming. Normally, we don't implement the complex ML algorithms on PyCharm. Only for simple ML program, simple chatbot creation, or simple Python programming, we use PyCharm. And we can use a Spider if you want to deploy the ML programs on any servers. Okay, on any Django server or any type of server, you can use this Spider. And just to implement any ML algorithm, we can use this Jupyter notebook. Okay, just click on the launch here. Okay, so here we are having all these options. See here, all these are already inbuilt files which we have under Anaconda. See here, up to videos, these are all inbuilt. Okay, then afterwards, what are files you are seeing? These are all the uploaded files. So you can upload the different types of uh, input input data sets, whatever you are taking, Excel files, you can upload that. Just you click here, upload. Okay, it will ask you to show the location, select the location, and the file will be uploaded here. And when you are uploading the Excel file to your program, no need to give the path. Okay, normally we have chosen that command, read underscore CSV. Within brackets, we are normally we give the path when we are using the Google Colab. Here you can give directly the file name, no need to go for the path. Because both are on the same location, your program as well as the input data file. And if you want to open a new file, you can click on here and click on a Python 3. The notebook will be get open. See, the interface will be same as a Google Colab. And you see here terminal is there. Terminal is for runtime command mode. Okay, to execute some commands, some runtime environment, we normally go for the terminal. It is like a command prompt. Okay, so here I have executed a program, and it has been saved here. So first let me show you this program, this Excel file. Now this is the Excel file we are using. I have variance. Okay, let me show you the Excel file. Now this is the Excel file we are using for our decision tree implementation. We are having two types of predictions here, or classification. See, decision tree, it can be used as a regression model. It can also be used as a classification model. In our experiment, we are using it as a classification model. Both decision tree as well as a random forest we are going to discuss today. Both we are implementing as a classification. So here in this particular data set, I have only two classes, that is class 0 and class 1. Okay, this is a class 1 category of data, and class 2, only two classes we have here. Either the new data will fall under the group 0 or group 1. Okay, and this is, see, these are the different types of inputs which are given to calculate particular mathematical expression, you can say. Okay, based upon the resultant, okay, whether the equation is producing the positive result or negative result, that can be assessed. Whether after putting these values in that particular equation, what type of result you are getting, whether it is generating a positive number or whether it is generating a negative number. Based upon that, this classification has been done. Okay, and this data set has been imported from Kaggle.com. If it is a negative value, it is estimated that the data belongs to a class 0. If it is a positive value, the data belongs to the class 1. So this is about the input data file, and we are having 4 independent columns. Just remember, x value is 4 here. X is 4 means what? How many values are there? How many attributes are there? 4 attributes. 4 features. Okay, we can also call it as features. The columns are called as features, rows are called as tuples here. Okay, 4 features are there, and then we have this independent, we have the dependent attribute, that is class. Class is assigned to the variable y, which is dependent upon the remaining 4 attributes. Okay, x is independent variables which contains these 4 columns, and y is dependent upon these 4 columns, which is a dependent contribute or a dependent attribute. Okay, now here so depending upon these values, we can categorize whether it belongs to class A or class B. See, you can see this interface. Mm. Mm. Yes, students. So this is the interface, okay, of the Jupyter notebook. Now this will be saved on your local machine without any internet. Also, you can run any program. You can check that. And see here, whenever we are using Jupyter notebook, you can import any file by just giving the file name. No need to write the path here. So these are the basics. And if you want to insert, we can go for insert cell below, insert cell above. Particular cell, you can delete here using edit. And then if you want to run any one single cell or all the cells at a time, you can go for this run prompt. Okay, here run is there, which will execute one cell at a time. If you want to run all the cells at a time, you can go for run all. Okay, so this is about the basics of the Jupyter notebook. Students, is this clear, ma?
Clear, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we shall understand the decision trees, and then afterwards, after understanding the decision trees, we'll come to this program. Okay, we will learn the things in a stepwise manner.
Ma'am, why do we use Seaborn, madam?
Seaborn
Net.
is to draw the graphs, to draw complex graphs.
Okay.
Okay. See, Matplotlib will give only simple diagrams, simple graphs, 2D graphs. Okay. Or pie chart, histogram. You won't get a lot of information in that. Madam, lab starting. Oh. Okay, so in order, if there is a lot of columns of data, okay, to visualize those things in an efficient manner, to understand that particular input data file, definitely we need to use the Seaborn. Okay, we will see what are the different types of graphs we can develop using Seaborn. Okay, that I will explain when we are dealing with the program. Now let us understand about the decision trees. Yeah, is the whiteboard clear to you, students?
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
Okay.
Top also we are getting option.
Yeah, I think it is visible to you clearly.
Right, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the decision trees. Now, decision trees can be implemented using, decision trees can be used in two ways. One is a regression model. Under regression also, decision trees can be implemented under classification also. And according to our syllabus, we are going for classification. Uh, so under classification, when you compare regression and classification models, classification will give you more accurate output when compared to the regression models. Okay, when we do comparison also, decision trees implemented with the classification methods will produce a more accurate information. Now, what is a decision tree actually? You have seen this data, the input data file just now, right? We are having the 4 columns of data. Here is the some x values, x1, x2, x3. These will be our inputs, and y will be what? It will be our predicted data, which we have to predict. Okay, we are having some classes based upon the inputs. You have to identify whether it belongs to the your particular instance. Okay, that is a one row. Each row is called as an instance. The x1, x2, x3, x4, whatever you give, whether these values, what you are giving, whether they fall into category of 0 or 1, that you have to predict using this decision tree trees. So when you give the input at one particular feature, now each column is called feature here. Okay, F1, F2, F3 and F4. 4 features are there. Here, one of these 4 features has to act as a root node. Remaining will be acting as a children node. Okay. So here, what we will do, we will try to see here, and zeros, the rows. Okay, the instances are the rows which are showing the output as 0. These are called as a false statements, or the result is said to be false, and the rows which are producing the output 1, those are called as a true instances, or the inputs which are leading to true statements. Okay, students, please mute your devices. Roll number 7, mute your device. So here, suppose in a given data file, I am having 9 true values, I am having 9 true values. Totally 9 rows of data are there. Among those 9 rows, suppose there are 5 true values and 4 false values. Okay, so among these 9, one of the future will be taken as a root node. Okay, then afterwards, remaining are again 8 rows. In that 8 rows, okay, some of them will come under left side, some of them will go to the right side. Okay, one of them will be taken as a parent node, and based upon this classification, yes. So again, see, this is a 9 itself. Okay, one of the feature is taken. Then again under this feature, again these same 9 rows will be divided into 2 parts, where again some true and false statements will be divided. In this 6, all the statements are not true, all the statements are not false. Okay, some may be true or some may be false. Okay, suppose let us assume like this. Here 2 true statements and 2 false. Here also 3 true and 2 false. So totally again 9 statements are splitted. Okay, so we continue this process at the end until we completely get a node where it is completely pure. So decision trees are mainly used to identify the pure statements. Pure statements means there is no combinations. It will be either completely true predictions or completely false predictions. Okay, so until we get this, these are going to extend the branches. And now decision tree will always be from top to bottom, never go back. Once we select a feature at one particular level, then next, then we neglect that feature, and with the remaining features we go on extending the tree. Okay, we never go back and we never correct the feature which we have already taken. So the decision trees. It is not at all allowed in the decision trees. Now, here we have to identify how these decision trees have been generated using ID3 algorithm. So this is a main thing which is given in the syllabus. We have to implement this using ID3 algorithm. Now ID3 algorithm, it uses 2 techniques. Okay, the way how you generate the decision trees, we have many algorithms. Among that, ID3 is one of the algorithm to generate the decision trees. Now, in order to generate this decision tree, ID3 uses 2 techniques here. Okay, it can't generate the tree randomly, okay, without any particular hypothesis or without any particular um, uh, type of standard notations. Okay, so some standard mechanisms are there. Okay, one is entropy, and based upon these 2 things only, we are going to generate these decision trees. So first step is we have to identify the entropy. After identifying the entropy, we will go for the information gain. Okay, then we will identify that to how much length we can extend this tree. So entropy is, it measures the purity. Okay, purity means whether it is completely 100% true or 100% false. Okay, at what future, if you divide, if you take as the main root, which feature you have to take at the first level, which feature you have to take at the second level, that will be decided by using the entropy. So there is a formula for this entropy. Okay. Here we have the formula for this entropy is given as, okay, minus P of plus log base 2 P of plus minus P of minus, that is negative statements, log 2 again P of minus. Now what is this P of plus and P of minus? P of plus is the percentage of positive classes in the total database, or if you talk about one single level, okay, if you talk about this main root node, okay, at this particular feature, when you have taken this particular feature, at this particular feature, how many rows you have taken, how many statements you have taken, in that statements, what is the percentage of positive classes and what is the percentage of negative classes? Negative classes data. Here also negative classes and positive classes data. Okay, so that means, so let us assume this one. Okay, let us assume this 3t by 2f. Okay, if I want to calculate the entropy of this node, okay, there are 3 true and 2 false. Now, what is the P plus? P plus is the percentage of how many positive statements are there. So that is given by percentage means what? Subset by total number of data. That is 3 by total number of data is 5. Okay, 3 plus 2 total is 5 lines of code is there. 5 instances are there. Okay, 5 rows are there. Among that 5 rows of data, 3 rows are showing the class 1. So it is 3 by 5. And then we are going to use the log base 2 and again P plus. P plus is again 3 by 5. It is starting with a minus sign here. So this will be minus. Okay, followed by again minus. Then find out how many negatives are there. What is the percentage of negative in this total database? This database, the database at this node is 5 rows. Okay, so that will be negative. P minus is 2 by 5, log base 2 and again 2 by 5. So if you compute this, the value which you will get is approximately 0.78 and we are going to measure it as bits. See, log base 2 means here we are using binary notation, okay, to calculate this value, and here the minimum measurement is bits. So by using this formula, we will try to calculate what is entropy at each and every node. Okay, and this entropy value will be always between the range 0 to 1. The closer it is, okay, the value which is leading to 0, which is closer to 0, is considered as the best feature. Best feature which by which if you select that feature will lead to the result with a more accurate performance. The value which is nearer to 1 is the feature where accuracy is less. Okay, this is, we say it as an average feature, or we can say it is not a better feature, it is an average feature. So 0.78 is nearer to 1. So it is not as good as that feature is not as good. See how we are getting these nodes. These nodes resemble the features. This is feature 1. This may be feature 2, feature 4. This may be feature 3. Okay. There is no rule that the features should be in a sequential manner. 20 features are there. Root node can be any feature. Then second level nodes can be any feature. Leaf nodes can be any feature. So which node should be taken as root? Which node should be taken as a roots for the next level? That is decided based upon this entropy value. So that is the significance of this entropy value. Did you understand this one, students?
Yes, ma'am.
And there are 3 cases for this entropy. One is where positives and negatives are not equal. Number of positive statements and number of negative statements are not equal. So this is a case 1 where you may get the value in between 0 and 1. Then case 2 where you get equal number of true and false statements. Okay, there are equal number of statements which are producing the this class 1 as well as the class 0. That is, true statements are produced as output in the same number and false statements are also produced in the same number. Then in this case, the entropy value will be 1. Okay, when both are equal, entropy value is 1, and this is not recommended. Okay, you can't take this feature as, you can't take it as any of the parent node. Okay, either at first level, second level, or third level. You can't take it as a feature to act as a particular parent node to any other next level nodes. So this feature is avoided. This type of features are avoided. And which features are best preferred is where there are only true statements and there are false. And there are no records which are showing the false predictions. All records are showing the true predictions only. Then this is the most preferred. Okay, or we can say this is the best entropy value. Okay, and when you apply this value to this particular formula, you get 0 bits. Okay, why? Because here you will get a 4 and here log 4 base 2 you will get. This is minus, okay, log 4 base 2, and so you can write like this. Log 4 base 2 is again 2 square. So here you will get minus 2 into 2, and this is log 2 base 2. Okay, here you will get 1, and again here in this case, sorry, here you will get a fractional part, right? You will get 4 by 5. Okay, so ultimately when you do calculations using the percentages, uh, that is 4 by 5. Uh, here you will get a log 0, and log 0 is 0 over here, and ultimately you will get 0 bits. So this is the best feature, best entropy feature. So this is the purpose of this entropy. Entropy is mainly to select one of the future as the parent node. So that is the purpose of this entropy. Did you understand this, students?
Ma'am, one more time, please.
Which point?
The first step in this entropy one. Case 1, ma'am. Case 1.
Case 1. See, if you want to generate a decision tree, you need to identify what is the parent node, which parent node I should take. Or no, which should be the parent node. Here, I will consider a database here. Okay, that means some training data. There is a training data in which there are features. Features you understand, right? The columns,
Yeah.
each column.
Yeah.
F1, F1, suppose there are up to F20 features. And this is what, this is our resultant, actually our predicted output. I want to predict for what type of inputs I am getting the correct output. Some of them will show false or 0. Okay, you can say that the prediction is false, and some of them will show 1. 1 means true predictions. Now, among this F1 to F20, if I want to start a decision tree, okay, how should I find out which should be the parent node? Which feature should be parent node? Based upon that, you have to classify the remaining features. See, decision tree is all about how you are. If you take F6 as your parent node, based upon the data which is present under F6, okay, based upon the data which is present under F6, F1 to F5, what are the remaining features we have? F1 to F5 and F7 to F20. Based upon the data which is present in F6, some of the features from F1 to F5 will be to the left side. Some of the features from F7 to F20 will be towards the right side. Are you following? Based upon the data.
Right now.
Okay. Suppose F6 is having like weather forecasting is there. Okay, I want to find out whether the day is, whether it is a sunny day or whether it is a rainy day. Suppose there are only two features in F6. If F6 is giving the entropy value which is nearer to 0, nearer to 0 means suppose it is 0.2, okay, which is nearer to 0, okay, and it is very far from 1. It is not 0.09. 0.09 will automatically be nearer to 1, and this is automatically nearer to 0. So there are two data now, sunny and rainy. Now there are two classifications under F6. One class is sunny, that means left side of this will go to sunny, and here it goes to rainy. Now what this decision tree will do?
Hello.
Yes, 1 second, student.
Okay.
This image is going.
Okay.
1 second. I think it is visible to you.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, let me show you the PPT. Yeah, I think this is visible to you. So among the 20 features, okay, suppose P6 is having two classes, sunny and rainy. Left side will take the all those statements which are sunny and which are rainy. So if it considers the statements rainy, under rainy, whichever features are containing, whichever lines of records are containing the sunny as one of the attribute, all those remaining other than P6, whatever remaining features are there, all those will be taken by this left side node only, because we have to take the total row. So in the total row, wherever F6 is sunny, the total row will take those features and it will assign it to left side. This is based upon the F6 feature, which will be acting as a root node. Are you following? See, suppose there is a database with a roll number, name, okay, and branch. Okay, three data are sets are there. Three features are there. Okay, now I am going to split the data. I am going to generate a decision tree where I have to identify the branch. Name, roll number, and branch is there. I will identify the branch. Now, in the branch, I have two things. One is MTech CSE is there, MTech IT is there. Now, whatever features are there, okay, MTech will be my basic feature, root node. CSE will be the lines of code which are containing MTech CSE. That means that line will contain the roll number, name, as well as MTech CSE. Three attributes will be there. All those lines which are containing MTech CSE as the third attribute, that complete line, the three lines that with the other two attributes, those will be assigned to the left side. And MTech IT is there, that whichever lines of code are containing the IT as the third attribute, that complete line will be taken, those number of statements will be taken as the right side statements. Okay, I'm not extracting only that particular column. I'm extracting the column along with that complete row. Are you following?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when you extract the complete row only, you will identify. Then you will check the last column, that is output, whether the three attributes are giving a true result or false result. Okay. Suppose the true result may be he has passed that particular that course. Okay, then false is what? Okay, he has the particular student has not passed. That means he might have moved to the other institute, or he might have did not write the exam due to some reason, but due to some reason he has not completed his course successfully. Okay, so you have again in that you have two classifications. One is in IT CSC, sorry, MTech CSC in the left side. Okay, you see here in the left side in MTech CS, this is for MTech CSC, right side is for MTech IT. Now in MTech CSC, again I have two attributes, whether he has completed that course or not completed. So true or false, again I will get two more splits. Here also in MTech IT, I will get two more splits. Okay, name and roll number will be there. Okay, and as well as MTech IT will be there. But based upon what criteria, again you are dividing those lines of code, you are dividing it based upon the whether he has completed the course or not. Okay, if it is completed, okay, you will get a left child for this node, otherwise you will get a false, that is a right side node. So in this way, based upon the features, again and again this tree will be extended until at the last you will get a pure nodes. Pure nodes means completely true, completely false. You won't get a combination like this. Did you understand, students? This is what? This is impure. Okay, this is impure. 3 to 2 to, and this is completely pure. Okay, afterwards finding this, then the next task which we have to do is calculating the information gain. Okay, and now after getting the entropy value at each and every node, all those entropy values are taken. Okay, all those entropy values are taken and they are added. Okay, if you are getting see, each individual node entropy value is taken and it is added. Okay, and once you get whichever a combination of these trees, if you are getting a higher value of information gain, okay, by applying this formula, if you are getting a very high value, that means that is effective. The tree which you have built is efficient. Otherwise, if the value is very less, see the value will again be, it will be between 0 and 1. Okay, if the value is nearer to 0, means that information gain or the way how you have structured the tree is not proper. Which now in this case, it should reach to 1. 1 means what? The structure, the features which you have chosen to build this tree is correct and the efficiency of the decision tree is also correct. So in information gain, we will try to see that the summation of this all this entropy value should reach nearer to 1. Are you following?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now what is the formula for this? Formula is very simple. See, h of s minus sigma of entropy values of all the nodes. Now, what is h of s? H of s is entropy value of all the nodes. S is all the nodes. SV is subset of the nodes. All the nodes means what? Initially with how many data lines or how many rows we have started. Okay, suppose I have taken the database with 100 rows of data. So that 100 rows will be S. After taking 100 rows, here we are splitting that 100 rows of data into different nodes. Okay, all the nodes are not having 100 nodes now. Some of the here it may contain 20. Left side may contain 20 at this second level, and F3 may contain 80 rows of data. Again, you have some more splits here. So at other than root node, the remaining nodes, whatever number of line records of data are taken, that are SV. SV is subset of the total of 100 lines. Okay, so h of s is what? It is entropy of only the root node. The remaining nodes entropy is called as h of sv. Okay, so just take h of entropy value of root node as h of s minus take entropy value of each subnode and go on adding, that is sigma. So entropy value of here what? Number of what is SV here? Subset means how many here? 6 plus 2, 8 are there. Out of how many? See, parent node is actually having 14 rows of data. 9 plus 5, 14. 9 true, 5 false. 9 plus 5 is 14. 14 is total rows under the root node. Here, how many rows are taken? Only 8 rows are taken. So 8 will be S of V divided by total rows is 14 into entropy we have calculated. We have used the formula. What is the formula we have chosen? This is a formula. Okay, minus of P plus log base to P plus minus. Okay, subtract this value from subtract these two values. Okay, that is percentage of negative statements log base to again P of minus. So that is our entropy value, that is H of SV. So for each and every node, see this SV divided by S into S of V. These three things have to be computed to the remaining nodes other than root node. Once you compute for each and every node, then sum of them. Okay, and finally whatever value you get, that you have to subtract from this entropy value of the root node. Okay, that then finally you will get this answer. So this is H of S 0.91 for the root node, that is F1 feature. For F2, I have taken 8 by 14 into H. Entropy of F2 is 0.81. Okay, so these are some random numbers I have taken. Okay, then again take the entropy value of F3. Okay, so here minus is there, minus is common to all. Okay, like that. Again you can take for the leaf nodes also. Again apply for leaf nodes also the same formula. Subtract them from the root node entropy value, that is 0.91, and you get some value. If it is nearer to 1, that is your tree is structured properly. If it is nearer to 0, the tree has to rebuild. Okay, so that is the benefit of this information gain. Yeah. Did you understand this, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So our ID3 algorithm, building the decision tree using ID3 algorithm, it uses these two properties. Okay, decision tree is built using ID3 algorithm, which is using this entropy and information gain techniques to structure a tree. Okay, and these are all things which you already know. So these are the default packages. Import NumPy as NP, pandas. Pandas we have to use for uploading our input data file to this Python notebook. Then import Seaborn as SNS and matplotlib.pyplot. These two packages, Seaborn and matplot, is to generate the graphs based upon the input data. Now dataset.head, what it will do? It will show what is present in our file. Okay, this file is stored with this variable dataset. Okay, so there are no empty values or NaN values. So I have directly gone for the pre-processing of data. Okay, now I have to divide this total data into dependent and independent variables. So all these four variables are independent variables. They don't depend upon another variable for their value. Okay, so always we use this notation. X is for independent variables, Y is for dependent variable. Now the column number of this is what? This is column 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we are using a slicing technique here. Dataset dot integer location, I location. Then here we use empty. There is no number before and after column. Why? Because I want to include all the rows. So don't give any number. But futures, I don't want to take all the columns. I want to take only 0th column to 3rd column. So that is why I have mentioned the column numbers. Directly you can mention the column number without any using this column symbol. Okay, and put it as dot values, means you are extracting the values that are stored under X. And for Y, I want to assign only the independent variable. And the column number of Y is of this class is 4. Okay, only indicate that number. So it is colon comma 4. If you want to give reverse indexing, the column will be -1 for class. Okay, if it is in reverse direction, it will be starting from -1. It will be -1, -2, -3, and so on. That is reverse slicing. If you want to give indexing for forward direction, From forward direction, it will be indexing will start with 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So here we have divided the data set into dependent and independent variables. Now X and Y are two new files which we have created. Okay, then I need to generate 4 files from these 2 files. What are they? Train data and test data. For X, I will generate train and test. For Y also, I will generate train and test. So there is a inbuilt command. Just you have to make use of that command. Okay. The command for generating the training data and testing data is sklearn.model_selection is the package which you have to use. From this package, import one method. What is that method? Train_test_split. This will automatically divide each of the X and Y file into 2 data sets. Okay, or 2 files, train and test. Okay, then second line, this is also common for any type of ML application. So X_train always start with train, and that too always start with independent variables only. X_train comma X_test comma, then start with the dependent variable, and that too with the train data only. Don't start with test comma Y_train comma Y_test equal to, use the method name train_test_split. Within that, you pass the files to which you want to convert into train and text. Okay, so the file first which you have to pass is X file only. This order is this order we have to follow. We should not modify this order. X comma Y comma test size is 0.15, means test data, that is X test and Y test, I am taking only 15% of data. If I am assuming the total data in X as 100%, in that 15% will go to test file. Remaining percent is what? 85%. 85% by default it will be allocated to test file, X test and Y test. Comma random_state equal to 0. From 0 to 44 you can give any number. Every time you change the number of rows which are assigned under X test and under X train, they will be the rows of data will be going on changing. Okay, if random state is 0, it may take rows of 1 to 100 into a test, and 101 to 200 it may take under training. If you change again in the next iteration, okay, after executing the total program, again if you come back and change the random state equal to 1, then X test and X train data will change. Okay, not same data will be there. The data may exchange between X test and X train. Okay, so that is the meaning of this random state. Then if you observe the data, see here the data is not unique in all the columns. Can you see any difference in each column? What is the difference in the data? Yes, students. Is all the data in a unique manner in each and every column? See, some of the numbers are having the numbers after decimal. Okay, some are 3 in number, some are 5 in number, right? There is no uniformity. And moreover, if you see class is what? It is showing exactly the integers. Okay, that is not matching with the remaining 4 columns of data which are in float numbers. Okay, it should not be like that. Either everything should be numbers or everything should be float. Okay, then only any type of ML algorithm will work. Otherwise, it won't work. So for that purpose, we are using standard scalar method. Now, what is standard scalar? Can anyone say? We have already used this standard scalar. What does standard scalar will do?
Division.
Yes, it will try to bring the X x values, okay, all the features of x or all the features of y to a common pattern. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Continuous intervals.
With the continuous intervals. Means the difference between first number and second number will be constant. Second number, third number will be constant. Okay, all the numbers will be in some uniformity, so that algorithm will work efficiently. So that is the purpose of this standard scalar. What you have to do, just import that standard scalar method in the particular Colab. Okay. So just use this one. Inbuilt package is there from sklearn.preprocessing import standard scalar. Okay, then initiate this method using an object. Now SC is an object, and we are initiating this method, or we can call it as a class. Okay, after initiating, now apply this SC to X, that is XTrain and XTest. Okay, because all these 4 columns are present both in XTrain and XTest. Apply this one. For XTrain, okay, you need to pass this XTrain data to fit underscore transform. So if it is going to take the input, transform is going to implement the standard scalar. Okay, so first of all, you need to take some file to implement this standard scalar. Okay, these 4 rows you have to take. Those 4 rows are present in XTrain. So we are taking XTrain as an argument to this fit underscore transform. Okay, in some algorithms, fit is implemented separately in one column in one command and transform in another command. Here we can execute fit underscore transform, both fit and transform at the same time. Fit will take the input data and transform will execute the standard scalar on that particular input data. Okay, now we are implementing, we are executing both the things simultaneously. XTrain is given to fit. After it is sent to fit, automatically transform will execute this standard scalar with the help of this SC variable. Okay, and once it is converted, okay, now initial input file we got. Now you can directly convert XTest to again standard scalar method by just taking the XTest. Okay, now here just to take transform of XTest. Now then if you try to implement that one, XTrain is this and XTest is this data. Okay. And then we are going to implement this histogram. Okay, this is not mandatory. This is just for your understanding, and this histogram is created using matplotlib. Okay, because we have already imported matplotlib library, we can directly execute this command. The data set is what? Data set is actually the original data where x and y are not present. Total actual data is present along with 4 columns and the last column class 0, class 1. Okay, so this shows that how many values are there, how many rows are there for each of this attribute. Okay, and now this is the most important in any type of algorithm. In any type of ML application, this is the most important command. See here we have been given with sns.pairplot. Now pairplot, how will you get this type of complex diagrams can be implemented only using Seaborn. You can't implement this using matplotlib. Okay, so that is why we have imported Seaborn at the beginning. Okay, I am taking the total data set. Okay, so the total data set is the 5 rows of data, whatever we have taken. So this is our original data set. So this data set we are taking. Okay, we are passing it to the pair plot, comma, HUU is equal to class we have to give. That means what is your predicted column? That column name you should pass. Okay, with respect to what you want to classify the algorithm. Okay, with respect to the output column class, HUE is equal to, this is the default argument which you have to take and give the predicted column. The output column name you should give here. Okay, so when you run this, you will get a diagram like this. Now, what this indicate is, this will say that, say, pair plot is drawn for each and every attribute. See, other than class, we have four attributes, 4 columns we have. So with entropy. Okay, see, if you take variance will be matched with again 4 attributes. See here, 4 attributes, same 4 attributes on x and y. Variance will be compared with variance will be compared with skewness, variance will be compared with kurtosis, and it will also be compared with entropy. So each of the variable will be compared with the remaining 3 as well as itself in the pair plot. Okay, and then you will be generating some points like this. Okay, now what are these red points? Red color and blue color is, red is indicating class 1, blue is indicating class 0. In output you have only 2 classes there, class 0, class 1. Okay, so this is how we will generate the classification. So when you, and we are using decision tree classifier instead of regressor. Why? Because by seeing this diagram, you can see that there is a clear differentiation between the blue color dots and red color dots. Is it there, students?
Yes, madam.
Okay,
Orange and blue.
yes, if there is no overlapping. So when there is a clear distinction between 2 different classes, you can use a classifier. Okay, you will get a very accurate results because they are not merged together. Whenever there is an overlapping of the classes, suppose red is completely overlapped on the blue dots, you are not able to identify whether a given row of data, whether it belongs to 0 class or 1 class. Okay, then in that case, we will go for clustering algorithms. Okay, like k-means or k-nearest neighbor. When overlapping of the data points are there, where you are unable to justify the output, then in that case, we will go for clustering. Here, there is a clear differentiation. That's why we are going for classification. So that is the purpose of this pair plot. Pair plot will tell us what type of algorithm you can use to solve that problem. Okay. So that is the main advantage of using this pair plot. Still, if there is a more separation here, see here at the borders, okay, just at the borders of red and blue, they are overlapped. Okay, so this is okay. This can be solved by classification. If still clear separation is there, then you can go for regression models. Okay, regression models are stubborn models. When there is a clear distinction only, they will work. Even if a simple overlapping is there, they won't work. Okay, so with the help of the seaborn, you can analyze what type of algorithm you can choose. Okay. Am I clear up to this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It is clear, ma'am.
Okay. This is one more graph, ma'am. This is also optional. It is only for your analysis. This is a heat map. We call this as a heat map. In all the ML projects, okay, we normally decide what type of algorithm we have to use. We decide based upon the pair plot and this heat map only. So that is why I'm discussing this one. So this is a syntax. Just take a variable. To that variable, add this command. You can take any variable to the left side. To that, add this command. What is this command? Data set, that is the file which is containing the original data .corr. Okay, this is a default command. Okay, find out the correlation and store this in this variable. Then pass this variable to this graph. What is that graph? Heat map graph. And where is this heat map graph present? It is present as a method under seaborn. So that's why we are writing it as sns.heatmap of pass this variable comma annotation equal to true. Annotation, what is the purpose of this annotation is, here you are checking how much percentage each one of them are related to each attribute, each feature is related to the other features. Okay, how much of correlation is there? Correlation in the sense, correlation will tell that how much accuracy you can get when you use these features. Okay, if you don't write this annotation equal to true, you won't get numbers here, and that will be difficult to identify the correlation. Okay, so here, see, this is a scale which is shown. On each and every box, we have some numbers. If you are having negative values, see, from bottom to top, as you move, correlation is increasing. Okay, so this yellow color line on top is shown here. Whichever is having this yellow color line or value as 1.0, that is having highest correlation. So this will be normally 1 because you are finding the correlation with the same element. Variance with variance, you won't find any much difference in the rows of data. Minus 0.6 is black. Okay, the most black, that is minus 0.72, minus 0.09. These are low coefficient, low correlation attributes. Like skewness is there for minus 0.7, column is skewness, row is kurtosis. So when you take these features, the probability of estimating the output is very, very less. Okay. So that is what is meant by correlation. 0.32 is there, it is related to entropy as well as kurtosis. Means these two features will work to give you the best result. Okay. So this is advantage of this heat map. Okay, now direct implementation of this. Okay. Now we are ready with the training and testing data. Once you are ready with training and testing, directly you can implement any algorithm. So remember, in any ML algorithm, implementation of any ML algorithm will take hardly 4 to 5 lines. What is the remaining program is all about is only about pre-processing of data and to analyze the data. Okay, that is the most challenging task. So this is very simple to implement any type of classifier algorithm or regression algorithm. It hardly takes 4 or 5 lines. Okay, now this is a command to import the decision tree classifier method. Okay. Now ID3 is set. For ID3, it always uses entropy method. So here there are a lot of arguments in that, but we are taking only 2 arguments which are required for our program. These 2 arguments are enough. Now take a variable over here to the left side. To that variable is initialized with this decision tree classifier, and the criteria which we are using is entropy method to generate the tree, to generate the roots at each and every branch of the tree. And depth is tree, we are fixing the depth. Okay, if you don't fix the depth, it will take randomly whatever depth is possible, it will take. Or you can just remove this one. Okay. It is not compulsion that all the arguments have to be taken. There will be at least 12 to 15 arguments under decision classifier. Whichever is required, you can take only those. Or if you want, you can completely make it as empty also. Okay, once you have, so this variable is ready to implement the decision tree classifier. Now to this variable, add this command dot fit xtrain ytrain. Okay, xtrain ytrain. For these 2 data, we are going to develop the decision tree. Okay, so dot fit will always take, it will always ask to give some input. So what is the input you are giving? Xtrain and ytrain. Okay, so the model is ready with the input also. Now we have to generate the outputs. How we are generating the output? Output is y underscore predict equal to, you are predicting. Okay, what should be the output? Okay, you can take any variable here, that is equal to decision tree underscore model, whatever variable you have taken, and dot predict will predict what should be the result, whether the result is class 0 or class 1. Dot predict of X test. Why? Because we have to take we are giving X test as our new data. We have trained the particular decision tree with X train and Y train. Now I am giving some input, new input, which is not under X train. What is that new input is X test. Okay, and this is Y predict, and we are trying to display the Y predict. Then after predicting this, I want to find out what is the accuracy of this. Okay, so for that purpose, we are giving this accuracy equal to decision tree model underscore X test and Y test. Okay, what is accuracy of this? Okay, and just to give that particular accuracy variable here, it will show what is the accuracy.
Ma'am, one doubt, ma'am. Why kernel errors will come, madam, in Anaconda?
Kernel errors were because, see, if you have done this program, you have executed completely, and once you close this, it will go into deactive state. Okay, again what you have to do, if I want to execute this fourth cell or fifth cell, okay, again I have to execute the starting cells from first. Kernel will always go to sleep mode. So that is the only drawback if you run this on a local machine. Even in Google Colab also, you can't run directly some 11th cell or 12th cell. Again, you have to start running from first cell onwards.
If you run from first cell, it gets solved, ma'am.
Then only the again total program will get activated. Otherwise, what it will do, it will go to a sleep mode. Kernel will, whether it is Google Colab or this Jupyter Notebook, it will go to sleep mode. See here,
Yes.
accuracy is 0.99 for this decision tree. Okay, decision tree regressor will be there, classifier will be there. See this method carefully. There are two methods under sklearn.tree. One is decision tree regressor, one is decision tree classifier. We are doing classifier. Classifier will definitely give highest accuracy when compared to regressor. Okay, and if I want to project it in a diagrammatic form, now this is the code which we have to use. Now what here I have taken 50 as a width. Width is how much width of the tree, and 20 is the height of the tree. Means I'm taking the screen size. Okay, I'm not taking any of the tree size. This how much of the screen size you want to take to display the tree. Okay, so that is what is given here, figure size. Then from sklearn import tree and tree.plot_tree, and this is a command which you have to use. The variable which you have assigned for decision trees to initiate the decision tree, that variable you have to take. Okay, to initiate the decision tree classifier, the variable which you have used is decision tree underscore model. So take the same variable over here. Okay, dot fit and etc. in Whiteren you have to take, because this is a training data which we actually given to that particular model. Comma field equal to true. Field equal to true will try to show the nodes, each node in different color. If you don't give this field equal to true, all the nodes will be of same color and you can't differentiate. Okay, it will be difficult to understand. So this is a diagram. I try to change the width and height, but it is not getting enlarged. Okay, I'm getting again same size. Okay, because the data is large, that's why I'm getting this many number of nodes. I think, is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we have some x of 0. Entropy value is also given at each and every node. How many samples you have taken? Out of total 1166 samples, means out of 1166 rows of data, only 16 rows of data is taken here. Remaining rows of data will be taken by the left side child. Okay, value equal to this means what? Positive values are 645, negative are 521. Here also same thing, positive, negative, positive, negative. Okay, based upon this positive, negative only, we are calculating the entropy. So this is how we display the decision tree. Is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, random forest. Any doubts regarding decision trees? Anyone? If it is okay only, we'll go for the random forest. Is it okay, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So random forest hardly takes 10 minutes to understand. This is a very simple. It is a part of decision tree only. It is a form of tree structure only, random forest also. But the thing here is, see, in the decision tree, if you give any one input, that input will be taken by one of the node. Okay, you will get some sort of result, whether it belongs to class 0 or class 1. But random forest, what happens is, it won't consider the output with respect to one single node. Output will be considered based upon the decisions across each and every leaf node. Are you following? A random forest is, see, every leaf node will assess for a given input. There will be some sort of probability generated at each and every leaf node. All those probabilities are considered and average of that is taken, and then output is given whether the given input data is belongs to class 0 or class 1. So that is the only difference in the decision tree and random forest. And here random forest is much better than decision tree. Why? Because in random forest we are considering the decisions of each and every leaf node, okay, which will give us a better result. Whereas in decision tree, blindly we are going for the opinion of only one single leaf node. So in that case, we are going to generate a less accuracy. Are you following, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See here, random for decision tree is 0.99 accuracy. We are also showing same thing. Okay. So some type of okay, you can test it with different types of databases. You can see a clear distinction. The decision trees will be, the performance of decision tree will be somewhat less when compared to the random forest classifiers. So this is also a tree. Just you have to remember these 4 lines of code. This is a very, very simple algorithm. Okay. So same like the decision tree, we are initiating this random forest classifier by a variable. You can take any variable. Okay, simple variable you can take. In that there are a lot of parameters. Just I have taken these parameters. Okay, you can keep it as empty also. Okay, once this is initiated, you have to pass some data to this random forest model variable. Okay, for passing the input data, for giving some data, I need to use the function fit. Fit method we have to use. Now, dot fit will take the input data, and under this we are going to give some input data. What is the input data we should give? Always we should give the train data. Every time we should give the train data only. So x underscore train comma y underscore train. So this is the input data we are passing it to the random forest model, okay, to this variable, which will implement this, which will implement a random forest tree on this x train and y train data. Okay, now here this is passed and it has been executed. Now I want to see what is the output of this model. So for that, take a variable and to this add this method, okay, to the random forest model variable, add this method dot score of x test y test. Means I am giving a new data and I want to find out what is the accuracy, whether the y test is predicted. See, if it is 100% accuracy, whatever um, y train data is there, the same type of prediction should be shown by y test. Okay, the accuracy is 99. Means there is still 0.1 mismatch between y train and y test. It is not showing 100% efficiency, but the efficiency here is 0.99. Okay, so this is about the random forest classifier. Is this clear, students? Yes, students? Is the
Madam,
concept
yes,
clear?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
So this is all about today's topic. Okay. So same decision tree we have discussed. Okay. In the previous data science also, but the data set was different there and the pre-processing was also different. Okay. So what you have to do is, for the same data, for the same decision tree program, what you have done for the previous lab, that is in data science lab also, we have taken a car evaluation data set. Whether the car is a good, better or worst, what is the features of that car. based upon its attributes. The data file we have taken and we have generated a decision tree. For the same file, okay, you try to execute this. These 5 lines only you are going to add, and you have to check what is accuracy of that model. Okay. I think it will take hardly 10 minutes. You have to copy paste this. Okay, check. Okay, if the check with the train and test data, check whether you have used the same variables or not. Check with this and find out the accuracy for that program. Okay, so this is a task for you. For the next lab, you have to say, okay, what is accuracy you have got.